Yeah, and here we are getting ready for the A's to move here. Or are they? Lots of confusion. Nice enough to help us sort it out. He helped me out yesterday on Twitter. Senior contributor at Forbes, member of the Baseball Writers Association of America, writes about the business of sports and baseball, among other things. Maury Brown. Maury, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Good, and thanks for coming on. You may remember, if you're not familiar with Maury, and you should be, but if you're not, we talked with Maury in March about the amazing piece he wrote about Dave Kaval and what Maury called Dave Kaval's delusions of grandeur. So thanks for helping us out here, Maury. Scott Boras says the Players Association is concerned and hasn't approved the move to SAC. MLB came out, as you know, and said, it's a certainty the A's will be here. Do you know, does MLB need the Players Association's approval to actually move the team here?
No, they don't.
Okay.
I mean, it would have to be something like extraordinary, right? Hey, we're going to move to, I don't know, we're going to move to put a team in South America or something where travel would be, too much or something to that effect, right? But in this instance, no, they don't. They can certainly look to certain issues that they feel will affect the players and ask for those things to be addressed. But the actual relocation itself, no, they don't.
Yeah. Or if it was something that the union could say, that's actually dangerous, right? I mean, something extreme geographically or in terms of player safety.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's been some conversation around the gray area about the playing surface, right? But I don't think that that's going to fly. That's not going to be enough to stop this.
Yeah.
Maury, it seems like it's on again, off again. We've heard that they haven't signed on officially. Have you gotten any word that the Players Association has not put pen to paper?
No, but at this point, I don't think that you're going to have something officially signed in this regard, right? I mean, again, it'll be one of those situations where it's a negotiation. They'll say, okay, you want to do these things. All right, you've got to have an ability for us to go ahead and train. And, you've got to have places to go ahead and do batting practice. You've got to have, bullpens. I mean, there are a number of things to try and get an MLB ready, quote unquote, that they'll go ahead and those things have to be basically negotiated. Have they signed off yet? No, I don't think it's 100% there. And it's possible that they could negotiate right up until, games are actually played there. So, again, it's a negotiation type of thing that you go back and forth on. I used a bad analogy yesterday on Twitter. Somebody says, the players say, we want all brown M&Ms. And the player or the league will come back and go, well, how about if we just give you M&Ms, period?
Yeah.
So that's a bad analogy, right? They'll negotiate stuff that's there within the confines of what the facility is, which of course is not Major League Baseball. It's a minor league ballpark.
Mm-hmm. A lot of things involved in this discussion are, true, false, or factual. I'm going to ask you one that really has more to do with opinion. Scott Boras said, and Scott Boras is local. He's from Elk Grove. He said he thinks it's going to be difficult for Sacramento to show MLB how good the city would be for baseball long-term when the games are kind of shoehorned into this minor league facility. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think, Scott, I think is probably coming from the perspective of the players. Would any players want to go and sign in free agency and go play in a minor league ballpark? I'm sure that would be a challenge, right? I've always said this in general, right? What you're really trying to do is show future capability for any particular market, right? So you're not going to really find out how it's going to be until it's there. You can make some assumptions that, it's a large growing market. You're going to look how things are in terms of how sponsorships are. It's difficult because both, you've got both a minor league club and a major league club sharing the facility, right? That's going to be a little bit different. But overall, I don't know if it precludes any of that sort of thing. If you have an opportunity to show yourself and find out how it's going to be responded to, then that's something that you come back later. Nobody's going to be playing in a minor league ballpark if somehow, some way, there's a discussion about expansion or relocation to Sacramento. It would be, hey, cough up a really nice ballpark, and then we can have that discussion.
Joined by Maury Brown. Maury, remind me if I'm correct. Last time we had you on, I think the last statement you made on this show was baseball's moving toward expansion in 2030. And correct me if I'm wrong on that year. With that being said, we've heard to Portland where you're up that way northwest. We know Nashville's in the mode. Obviously, Las Vegas is sitting here, and we've heard a little bit of Louisville. Where would Sacramento play a part in this in your mind? Let's just say if they were to sell out 14,000 for the first year and be successful.
Well, the first thing that would happen would be a discussion about how the market would be impacted by where the teams are at currently, right? So let's just move forward and let's say somehow John Fisher absolutely gets it figured out, which, of course, that's another story for another day. But they wind up in Vegas, right? And the Giants are in San Francisco. There would be, how would the media market be in a situation like that? But that's a conversation you're going to have everywhere. I mean, there's just no place in the country that isn't touched by one or more clubs. So, again, I think there's no way that you don't have Sacramento in that conversation. If somebody steps forward and says, hey, we want to be involved in this expansion conversation, you've got the political, civic component, you've got private investors, and there's somebody that says we're going to make this thing happen. When expansion does happen, I think that there'll be markets that open up. But the one right now, and this is going to probably be maybe surprising to some of the listeners, I would say that Salt Lake City right now in the West probably leads the way. And that's because you had the former owner of the Jazz involved with it and a bunch of people on the political side. They're making a lot of noise, and the league has taken notice of that.
Wow, there was talk of the A's moving there temporarily before they decided on here. Yeah, Maury Brown with us from Forbes. We may have a little bit of a scoop for you, Maury, because I don't think this has been reported, but Kyle Draper mentioned it on our show yesterday. Our understanding is there could be as few as 4 day games scheduled in Sacramento next season. That's not official, but that's what we're hearing. To what extent would that alleviate these concerns about the heat and the hot turf, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think that was done for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, for that reason, look, I grew up in the Bay Area. I used to be involved in stuff that happened in Sacramento quite a bit. I know how warm it can be. So yeah, I'm sure that was exactly what came into play. And again, while Scott Boras said it, I'm sure that others felt probably the same way, that there are concerns about certain aspects of it. If you're going to alleviate that, that's certainly one way to do it. So, again, it's not surprising, I would say. Again, this negotiation between the Players Association and figuring out ways to creatively address what they're seeking, those things are going to happen. And I would say that would probably continue on until, opening day next year.
Maury, you're one of the guys that I truly trust when it comes to having your finger on the pulse. And I don't want to put you back yourself into a corner because I'm pretty sure I know where you're going. No one can predict what John Fisher is going to do or what he may even be thinking he's going to do. With all that being said, when it's all said and done, in finality, does John Fisher keep this team within the next 5 years in your mind?
Yeah, I'm not going to back myself into a corner on this because I can't. Who knows? Who knows? I think that there's probably an ability, right? I have always said that there's so much about what's going on with the A's that remind me what happened with the then Florida Marlins when they moved to Miami. So the owner then, Jeffrey Loria, they finally get a ballpark built in Miami, largely done with public money. It took forever to get him to get it done. He stuck around for a few years and then sold.
He did, yeah.
And I think that would largely probably be how this plays out. Again, it could be internal. I mean, there's been so much discussion about, hey, if you want to be an investor, we're open. We have open doors, right? So, I mean, who invests a lot of money in what I see as a distressed property, right? I mean, the A's there's nothing really great to talk about right now. They're certainly not the Yankees, right?
Right.
So you sit there and you go, okay, I'll do that, but we have some kind of internal agreement that at this particular point, I can start buying out a larger percentage of the club, and then eventually I own it. And that's happened across multiple sports and certainly within baseball. So it's not out of the realm of possibility.
More, you being a business guy, what do you think, and I know I'm backing you into a corner. What do you think the A's are at value right now?
In terms of their net value, about what they were, their valuation?
Exactly.
They're going to be, I'd say that they're probably in the $2 billion range, somewhere around that. I haven't looked recently. But, again, a lot of this shifts the value of the club is going to go up and down based upon debt, right? Which there's a huge amount of debt involved in this thing, right, to get the ballpark built. And then, of course, what the value of the club is when they move outside of Oakland. And I think that there is some component to Las Vegas that has some intrinsic value. I will say this repeatedly. There's a lot of problems with Vegas, a ton of them. Their media market, for one. But the one thing they're going to make a bunch of hay on is in the sponsorship space. I mean, they're just going to make a ton of money and be able to host stuff that other clubs might not have the opportunity to because it's Las Vegas. So the value of the club, I think, goes up. And in that regard, again, that's part of the reason I think that they're, looking at where they're at. I thought it was bad. I still think it's bad. They should have tried to make it happen in Oakland. But again, this is how this thing's gone, and it's, of course, not gone well.
Follow him on Twitter at BizBallMaury. Maury, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend. We hope to talk to you again soon.
All right. You guys take care.
Take it easy. Maury Brown from Forbes, member of the Baseball Writers Association of America. Speaking of baseball, when we come back, Phantom, a catcher's career is in jeopardy after he repeatedly told the other team what pitches were coming. I don't know. Yeah.
I see a few problems.
Two sides every story, right? So let's find out.
A couple of pitfalls.
Find out what his story was when we come back. Drive Guys, Sactown Sports.
Seems like there's more identity theft in the news